I get asked a lot about certain supplements like green powders or protein powder. Like, when are those appropriate? Are they ever appropriate for teenage girls? So maybe we can discuss that a little bit.
Well, let's go with the green powder first. Are they
Yes.
appro No. Should they ever be used? No. The reason for this is it seems incredibly easy is, okay, I don't have to have a salad. I could just use the green powder. It's not a one-for-one replacement. When we're actually consuming vegetables, we're getting the fiber, we're getting the fluid, we're getting the carbohydrate, we're even getting a little bit of protein that is in vegetables itself. When you kind of extract that out and just try and dry something, all that goes by the wayside. And you're left with a little bit of this dried material that might have some of the plant nutrient in it, but it's not the same as eating broccoli or having spinach or having kale or whatever. They're extremely pricey. They don't really taste all of that good. And it's like, I would put that. I bet like, no, absolutely no. Yeah, there's always ways that vegetables can be added. And think about this, it's not just in the green category. There's lots of colors of vegetables. There's yellow ones, there's orange ones, there's red ones. So there's eat something like pumpkin added to a smoothie. Yeah, even throwing a little bit of spinach into a smoothie, it doesn't always change the taste if we're starting with something red or blue or even the color. It'll still look like a berry smoothie, but now we've made it a little bit better, and that is so much more nutritious than, oh, I sprinkled these powders in that just really aren't doing anything short of draining our wallet. Uh, when it comes to the protein powders, and here I think the biggest issue is that is not the replacement for. That is the complement to help to amplify protein intake to optimize what it is that we get. That's the reason to use them. So when we think about those types of things, it isn't always necessary for somebody to have a protein shake. And it's always been my big critique of this for young women and even for older women is that the volume is so enormous. Because most women are like, "Oh, how am I going to get all of that down? I have to use two hands to try and bring it to my mouth." There's no rule that says we have to do that, right? We could use a little scoop of something or a half a scoop of something and embellish upon another food we would eat. So, could I add a little bit of protein isolate to an oatmeal? Of course, I could do that. Could I add a little bit to a peanut butter? Yes, to make that a higher protein peanut butter. That would be a very simple thing to do, or even adding a little bit to a pancake mix. Yeah, there are products out there, but we don't have to use the products that have it in. We can do it ourselves. So when I'm looking at protein, I'm looking at isolate number one, not a protein powder, a protein isolate, meaning that the only thing in there is the protein itself. And then, when we're looking at better ones, because the quality is not the same across the board, is I would say my number one pick, unless somebody had a dairy allergy, would be to use a whey protein isolate. So that is one of the proteins coming from milk, and it certainly is a very, very high quality protein. The unflavored ones, I tend to like that because then I can use it in a savory or a sweet application. If it has a flavor in it, that's going to be the limiting step. Let's add chocolate protein isolate to a spaghetti sauce. Probably not a good idea. It would be very horrible in terms of the taste. Then I would say soy protein isolate would be the second on my list in terms of what would be a high quality one. They're getting a little harder to find, but they still are out there and also available to order online if we want to, because the quality of a soy protein isolate is comparable to what a whey protein isolate would be. Then we have lots of other choices out there in terms of plant-based ones. They just don't have the same amount of essential amino acids, meaning that you have to use double the amount. Well, now I have to use two scoops instead of one. And what is that taste? And what is that grainy consistency? That's the problem. And then everybody flocking to collagen, poor quality protein. It's not a replacement. Oh, I'll do a smoothie and put some collagen in the morning. Like, why? Don't do that because it isn't the same. It's very popular right now. People using it from a vanity perspective. There have been some clinical applications when we are looking at post ACL in surgery. But again, that's not across the board. Everybody is not seeing a benefit from it. So if we're really going to choose something, let's be selective about the protein that we choose. Think about an isolate, whey or soy being the best ones to use, and start small and realize, that's one little component of what we do. So you're not going to like, oh, let's just snort it in. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to mix it with something and thinking about less volume because that's a lot more comfortable to consume it that way.